Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. If you're new, hi, my name's Caroline. I'm so glad you're here. If you love reading and all things books, you should definitely consider subscribing. But if you've been here, you've probably heard me talk about before how summer is by far my favorite season, which makes summer reading one of my favorite things to do. So normally this time of year, I put out a summer book recommendations video, but as I was going through and getting all my recs together, I don't know what happened, but I guess last summer I just didn't read too many summer coded books. So pretty much all my recommendations are the exact same books I recommended in last year's video. So if you haven't seen that before, or if you just want to watch it again to get a refresher and get some good summer book recs, I will link that video above and below. But I just didn't want to be super repetitive and redundant and recommend the same exact books again for another year, although I would still highly recommend all of those books again. I thought what I'd do instead is share my summer TBR with you guys. So these are all the books that I'm planning on reading over the upcoming season, over the next few months. I know I personally love watching TBR videos. I find so many new books that I want to add to my TBR that way. So I'm hoping that'll be the case for you guys. I'm hoping you'll hear about a book that sounds good to you that you didn't have on your radar, so then you can add it to your summer TBR and read it very soon. So with all that, let's jump right into my summer TBR. I want to talk about some new releases that I want to read this summer first. I would say most of them actually aren't summer coded, but they're just very highly anticipated releases for me, so I do want to read them very soon, and I'm planning to do that this summer. The first new release though actually I think is going to be perfect for the summertime, and that's One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. This book is the follow-up to her debut novel Every Summer After, which I just did a reread of last month, and I'm so glad that I did. It gave me such a good refresher on the character that we're going to be following in One Golden Summer, which is Charlie. We get introduced to two brothers in Every Summer After, Sam and Charlie, and Every Summer After followed Sam. So now we're getting Charlie's book, which I didn't even know she was going to be writing a book about Charlie. But other than it being Charlie's book, I really don't know what to expect. I think I'm most curious to find out when it's going to take place in relation to Every Summer After. If it takes place like right after, during, before, I just have no idea, because in Every Summer After we saw Charlie as a teenager and it was kind of like coming of age. So I don't know if this will be him as an adult. I'm very curious to find out though. All the reviews I've been seeing for it so far have been really positive, so I'm very excited. I love Carly Fortune's writing. She really writes an emotional romance with so much depth to it. I get very invested in her stories and in the characters, and she also writes the perfect summer setting. All of her books so far have taken place at the lake in Canada, and it's very picturesque the way she writes it. It really transports you and makes you feel like you are there. So I'm so excited for this. I cannot wait to read about Charlie. The next new release that is one of my most highly anticipated of the year is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I cannot wait to pick this up and read it. I've been seeing the best reviews for this book, and based on what it's about, I just have such a good feeling that I'm gonna love it. It takes place during the 1980s, and the backdrop of the book is the space shuttle program, which I am so fascinated by all things NASA related, space related. I just feel like I'm really going to love this one. Our main character is a female scientist who joins NASA's space shuttle program, so as pretty much all Taylor Jenkins Reid books are, I feel like it's going to be very women empowering, so cannot wait to read this. I have a sneaking suspicion it might be a 5-star for me. I also cannot wait to pick up and read Rewind It Back by Liz Tomford. This is the last book in the Windy City series. It's a hockey romance, and this is Rio's book, which ever since we got introduced to Rio's character way back in book 1, which feels like forever ago now, I was anticipating his book. I'm like, I love him. He's my favorite character of the series based on the little snippets we get. He is kind of the comedic relief character, very golden retriever, so I cannot wait to read his romance. I've absolutely loved the Windy City series, and I'm really excited that this final book is a hockey romance because I'm a huge fan of hockey romances. So I'm very, very excited for this one to get Rio's story. I don't know the tropes of this book. All the books so far have kind of had different tropes, and I also don't know who our female main character is in this book because I don't think we've been really introduced to her before. So I'm very curious to see what she's going to be like, and can't wait to read this one very, very soon. The next romance I can't wait to read is Ali Hazelwood's latest release that she just kind of came out with out of nowhere, and I'm so excited because it actually seems perfect for summer because it's called Problematic Summer Romance, and it is the follow-up to one of her books, Not in Love. And our characters that we follow in this book we met met in that book. Our female main character is Maya, who is the younger sister of our male main character from Not in Love. And then our male main character, Connor, is his best friend. So it's gonna be brother's best friend trope, which I'm so excited for. There's also an age gap between the two of them and kind of a power imbalance, so I'm curious to see how that is gonna play out. But I just remember kind of seeing them and I felt like their romance was set up well in Not in Love. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of tension, a lot of pining. I'm really excited for it. Allie Hazelwood is another auto-buy author for me, so really excited that she's writing a summer-coded romance because we haven't seen that from her in the past. So I think this will be a fun one for the summertime. I also want to read Fredrik Backman's latest release called My Friends. This one is literary fiction and the plot sounds so interesting to me. I feel like I don't fully understand what's going on, but the bits that I have grasped sound so intriguing. I think our female main character becomes kind of enthralled with this painting, and the painting features 3 people in it, and she ends up finding out the backstory of the painting, and we kind of see who the people in this painting are, I believe. But I've heard good things. I really enjoy the books that I have read by Fredrik Backman. He always has very deep life messages in his books delivered in such a careful, thoughtful way. So I really enjoy that and excited to read more from him. Okay, and then the one new release on my TBR that has not come out yet, it comes out in early July, but I cannot freaking wait, you guys, is Time of Your Life by Jessa Hastings. This is another one that kind of came out of nowhere. I feel like she just randomly announced that she's coming out with a new book, which I am so excited for. This is the start to a duology, and you guys, I cannot wait because this book was actually inspired by my very favorite band, Oasis. The male main character on the cover, you cannot tell me that isn't Liam Gallagher. Like, he literally has worn that exact outfit. Even the typography of the title and like the way it has the 2 lines on it looks very similar to the Oasis logo. And our male main character is like a bad boy rock and roll star. He's the frontman for a 90s band. So I'm gonna be imagining Liam Gallagher the whole time. You cannot tell me otherwise that that is not him and who the main character is based off of. I'm sad. I cannot freaking wait. And all Jessa's little teaser clues that she put out on her Instagram, there was always like an Oasis poster in the background too. So I was like, I'm gonna love this even before I knew anything else about it. So I cannot wait. I have high expectations. I'm hopeful it'll be a 5-star. I will definitely be picking this up on release day and devouring it immediately because I have not been this excited for a book in a very long time. Okay, next category on my TBR for the summer I want to move into is backlist books that I do not own but I want to pick up somehow and read. The first one is the Ex Vows by Jessica Joyce. I know in this book we follow a maid of honor and a best man in a wedding, and I believe they are exes, and so it's like a second chance romance because they're coming together for the wedding of their mutual friend. And I know this one is set during the summer at a wedding in Napa Valley, which is so summer coded, all the good vibes. I actually have You with the View by the same author on my TBR for this month, and I'm planning on making it one of the next books that I pick up. So I'm excited to see how her writing is and if I enjoy it, which I'm feeling like I will because I've heard really great things about this book specifically. So definitely want to pick this up at some point this summer and read it. I also want to read Elizabeth of East Hampton this summer. This is book 2 in a series following Emma of 83rd Street, which I just read and thoroughly enjoyed last month. This whole series are contemporary retellings of Jane Austen books. So the first book was a retelling of Emma, and the second book is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, and it's set in the Hamptons during the summertime, and the romance and kind of our male main character we were introduced to at the very end of Emma of 83rd Street. So I cannot wait. This one is going to be such good vibes with it being a Jane Austen retelling. Not only that, but a Pride and Prejudice retelling, and it's set in the Hamptons in the summertime. I feel like I'm going to love it. I cannot wait to continue on with that series this summer. I also really want to pick up and read Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. This is one of those books that I feel like I see going around all the time. I never hear too many reviews for it, but it's just always been in the back of my mind as a book that I want to pick up and read. And lately I have been trying to plan a trip to Maine. I really want to visit during the summertime. It is one of my bucket list trips, and this book is set in a coastal town in Maine during the summertime, so I feel like if I end up going to Maine, it will give me some recommendations and just be the perfect vibes for the trip that I'm trying to plan. Eevee, our female main character in this book, is dealing with the loss of her husband who just passed away, so she is grieving and she doesn't really leave her house much. And then our male main character is a professional baseball player who's currently kind of struggling in his career. So he takes some time away and goes to stay at the apartment behind Eevee, and they kind of are like struggling together, and I think they confide in one another. And it sounds like a very interesting duo, like a baseball player and this woman who just lost her husband in Maine. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. I haven't heard this one as a romance, but I feel like the description is kind of leading me to believe there will be a romance that blossoms from this budding friendship. So I'm very excited, mostly for the main setting, and the story sounds so good, and it just sounds like an emotional but heartwarming story. So I feel like I'm really gonna enjoy reading this one this summer. I also really want to pick up Summer Reading by Jen McKinley this summer. I mean, the title, the cover could not be more summer coded. Our female main character is dyslexic, so she's always really struggled with reading, and it's not something that she enjoys. And then our male main character is actually like a really bookish guy who works at the library, and they have this really weird, awkward first encounter. But then I think the more they get to know one another, we learn our female main character is a chef who's trying to write a cookbook, but because of her dyslexia, she's struggling. So I think he ends up helping her with it, and then a romance forms from there. But another reason I really want to read this is because it's actually the start to a series, and the book that comes after it I think takes place in the winter, and it's set in Ireland at a bookstore. So I think all of her books kind of have like a seasonal bookish vibe, which I love, and any book set in Ireland is like instantly adding it to my TBR because I love books set in Ireland. So all those reasons are making me really want to pick this one up and read it this summer. Okay, last category of books I have on my TBR for the summer are books that I do own and are high priority. Top of my list is books I really need to get through because most of these I have owned for quite a while. The first one being The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand. I've never read an Ellen Hildebrand before, but everyone says she is queen of the beach read, and this one sounds like it'll be right up my alley. I think it's kind of a mix between a few different genres. There's some mystery in here and some romance. I've heard this one compared to White Lotus because it's set at this hotel, and we get a bunch of different guests' perspectives, and I believe there's a murder that takes place, so there's kind of like a who did it aspect to the story. But I think it is a little bit more lighthearted and fun because of this summery Nantucket setting. So it just sounds fun. It sounds kind of like salacious and scandalous. I feel like there's going to be a lot of high profile characters in the book. So really excited to pick up my first Ellen Hildebrand book this summer. I also want to read The Wedding People this summer. This one got really great reviews last year, and it just sounds so interesting to me. It's set at a wedding in Rhode Island, which feels very summer coded to me. That setting just gives me all the summer vibes. I've heard it's a little bit heavy to start and emotional, but it does end up being really uplifting and heartwarming. So our main character ends up going to this hotel. There is this wedding that's going on, and she is the only person at the hotel not associated with the wedding. So she ends up meeting the bride, and I think they kind of confide in one another, and I feel like it's gonna have a turnaround, like I said, and be a little bit more uplifting despite having a sad start. But it just sounds really interesting. I feel like it's gonna be a very good story with a good message, and I've heard lots of great reviews, so I can't wait to read it this summer. I also really want to read The Paper Palace. This one is set in August at Cape Cod, so a very summery setting. In this book, our female main character ends up having an affair with one of her childhood friends, so I feel like it's going to be a lot of drama, a lot of secrets, a lot of family dynamics being explored. My mom actually read this and really enjoyed it. She said it was very interesting, so she gave it to me to read a few years ago, and I still have not picked it up, but I would like to read it in August. I think that'd be fun to read it during the month it takes place, and I feel like it's just gonna be a very dramatic, interesting read. I also really want to read Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This is his release from last summer, and I think it's set in the month of July, so I feel like that'd be fun to pick it up and read it next month. But in this book, we follow our main character, and when he was a boy, he and his best friend were, I think, in one of their backyards out camping in a tent, and then his best friend went missing. He vanished. No one really knows what happened to him, and now as an adult, I think he's going back to his childhood home to try and get some answers and uncover some secrets. So it sounds really interesting. I honestly can't remember the reviews that I heard of this book. I don't know what people thought of it, so I think it'll be fun to kind of go in with no preconceived notions about it, not knowing any opinions, and see what I think. So really excited to pick this one up, hopefully next month. I have a couple YA romances. I just love to binge YA romance during the summer. It's just cheesy and cute and fun in the best way. The first one I have is Float. I've had this one for a few years now. I know know, our main character in this is from Alaska and she moves to Florida, and she ends up meeting a boy there who kind of teaches her to swim and surf and teaches her about the summer coastal lifestyle, which sounds so summer coded. I feel like it's just gonna be a good, fun one, easy one to pick up and binge and read this summer. And the other YA romance I have is pretty similar. We have our female main character who moves far away to California to be with her dad for the summer, and when she's there she ends up getting a summertime job, and one of the guys that she works with is the same guy that she's actually talking to online, but it's that trope of they're talking to each other anonymously, so they don't know that the person they're talking to online is the same person that they're working with, which sounds so fun. I feel like it's going to be fun to kind of uncover that mystery aspect of when they find out who the other person is. So I feel like it's going to be perfect to read this summer. And then of course I have some adult romances that I want to read this summer. The first one, the title says it all, Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. I read 2 books by Annabelle Monaghan. I read Same Time Next Summer and I thought it was okay, but I really enjoyed Nora Goes Off Script by her. But I've heard that Summer Romance is people's favorite, so I'm really excited. All I know is our female main character is divorced and she ends up meeting someone new, and she kind of has this like second chance at love and at life, and I feel like it's going to be also a bit of women's fiction in addition to the romance, because that's how her previous books have been. But I'm excited. I enjoy her writing style. It's very straightforward and to the point, not a whole lot of fluff, but it's just a fun, easy time to read. And this one is not too long as well. It's under 300 pages, which I always appreciate in a summertime romance. It just makes it easy and not intimidating to pick up and read during the summer. I also have The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I can't remember if this is their release from last summer or summer before, but I'm so excited for this one because I've heard really great reviews. I feel like with a Christina Lauren book, you never really know what you're gonna get because they all feel so different. So some are hits and some are misses for me, but I think this one is gonna be a hit because it just sounds like a fun time. I know it's marriage of convenience trope, and I think the way the trope comes about is because our female main character is getting something out of it, but I think when they're ready to cut ties, the male main character kind of needs something out of it, so the marriage of convenience trope continues, and it just sounds fun. I've heard people say this one is really funny and they really enjoyed our female main character, so I'm excited. I don't read too many books to make me laugh out loud, but just some things that I've heard people talking about with this one, I feel like this one will be the one to do it, so I can't wait. I think this will be the perfect pool read for the summer. I also really want to read Beth O'Leary's latest release this summer, Swept Away. I have realized recently that Beth O'Leary is one of my favorite authors. She just writes the cutest, most fun British rom-coms. This one sounds kind of different from her other books, which I'm excited about because the premises to her books are always so unique and so fun. I know our 2 main characters in this have a one-night stand, I think on our male main character's houseboat, and there's some kind of miscommunication, so they forget to tie up the boat to the dock, and the next morning they wake up and they are like in the middle of the sea, which sounds crazy. I feel like it's going to be a very high tension filled forced proximity situation, so I feel like it's gonna be so fun. I cannot wait to see how the romance between the 2 characters grows, and I feel like them being on this boat out at sea is the perfect summery setting. I also really want to read Float Plan. I've had this one for a while and I feel like I've been avoiding it because it seems like it's gonna be a little bit sad and emotional. Our female main character in this is going through grieving her fiance after he passes away, so as a way to kind of deal and heal and cope with her grief, she ends up wanting to take a sailing trip out at sea. So she gets this boat and she realizes that she needs someone to sail and captain the ship, so she ends up hiring this guy, and I think there is a romance that develops between her and the guy sailing the ship. But I have heard good things about this one, so I feel like it'll be a nice, emotional, heartfelt romance. And I also really want to read Deep End by Ali Hazelwood this summer. This is another recent release from her that came out earlier this year, and I feel like it's perfect for summer because it's a sports romance between 2 characters who play water sports. Our female main character is a diver and our male main character is a swimmer, so it's different too from Ali Hazelwood's previous books, which I think is kind of scaring me off a little bit. As much as I love sports romances, I've heard that this one just feels so different to her other books, but I'm hoping that I love it. Also, the edges being like water gives me all the summer vibes, and there's like water all over it. very excited to read this one and see what I think. I am a huge sports romance girly, so since I love Allie Hazelwood and all of her other books, I'm hoping to love this one too. So that is going to conclude this video. Those are all the books for now on my summer TBR. So let me know down below your thoughts if you guys have read any of these books before. Let me know which ones you liked, if you didn't like any, if you think I should prioritize some, if you want to see anything in a reading vlog. Just let me know everything down below in the comments. I would love to chat with you guys. Let me know what's on your TBR for the summer, or if you took any books away from my video that you're then gonna add to your TBR. I would love to know that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all very soon in my next video. Bye guys.